Good evening. So we have finished one major section in anthropology, that is socio-cultural. Related to that, most of the topics that we have covered so far is to do with society and culture. Okay, so even in Indian anthropology or tribal anthropology, we were mainly focusing on the socio-cultural aspect of humans. Yes. Okay, so when we gave an introduction to anthropology, so what is anthropology? It is a holistic study of mankind. Yes, so we study every aspect of it, the society, the cultural aspect of it. Okay, we also study the biological aspect of it or the physical aspect of human. Okay, so this is another section. So it is a little bit different from what we were studying so far. Okay, so that is why this particular class is important, so that you will start getting oriented towards those ideas. So cultural, society, you had one idea, structure, function, etc. Now we are talking about the physical aspect of human, okay, or the physical evolution and variation of human. Okay, so you have to little bit orient yourself differently, okay, to understand this particular section. Okay, it is not that difficult. Okay, just that few days, by the time you get adjusted to the concepts, etc., it might take a little bit effort from your side. After that, again, it is very easy. Okay, so we'll start with physical anthropology. Now, what is this physical anthropology? Okay, so physical anthropology is one of the branch of anthropology. Okay, so what does this physical anthropology actually study? Now, this physical anthropology studies human biology. Okay, it studies human biology, but from the evolution point of view. But from the evolution point of view. See, biologists also will study biology, medicine, okay, they also will study human biology. Okay, other discipline also are there, they also study, there are other science which also studies human biology. Now in anthropology, what do physical anthropologists study? So they study human biology from the point of view of evolution, within the framework of evolution. Please understand, you don't have to know the genetics, what BSc genetics students will study. It's not about that. You are studying genetics here to understand evolution of human. Okay, so the basic premise or basic idea is that man has evolved, the modern man has evolved from, say, simple organisms. So from simple organism we have become this complex man. So we have evolved. So to understand this evolution, we use various principles, etc. Genetic being one of the principles. So that is where we study genetics. It is not that we have to know about genetics alone. We study genetics again within the framework of evolution. Okay, so we study every aspect of human biology within the framework of evolution. That is what is this physical evolution. Actually, physical evolution is the old name. Today majority of them call it biological evolution. Biological anthropology. Okay, it's the same. Physical anthropology or biological anthropology is the same. In some university they call it physical, some they call it as biological. Biological is a much broader term because it also includes your genetics, etc. When it started, we were mainly focusing on the physical appearance and physical variation of human. So that is why the word physical anthropology. But after, say, 1950s, with the advancement of science, genetic became more important. Okay, or there was a lot of studies on genetics. So that is when we started using the word biological anthropology. It's the same. Okay, it is, both are used synonymously, both are same. It is the study of human biology within the framework of evolution, in order to understand how the modern man has evolved, is what we study in physical. Because of that, we study various other things. See, for example, human or man in the equator is different, in the polar region he is different. To appear, to look, he may be little bit different. Yes or no? So in the equatorial region, they appear differently. They have dark skin, they are a little bit tall, lean, etc. If you go to the polar side, they will be short, they will be stout, they will be fair. Yes or no? So again, it is because this biology is related to your environment. So environment affects human biology or any organism, and similarly the biology is shaped by the environment. Okay, so this again is studied within the framework of evolution. That means how this variation has evolved over a period of time, giving rise to so many variety of subspecies within human races, different race. Anyways, so this is the definition. Physical anthropology is nothing but study of human biology within the framework of evolution. Okay, to understand how modern man has evolved. Okay, now that is how what we. So we'll try to understand what is physical anthropology, then what are the various branches or what does it study, and then we will just have a look at our syllabus. What are the various topics? It is very easy because from the exam point of view, it is very easy because most of the questions that come over here are very direct. What is this physical anthropology? So it is a branch of anthropology which studies human biology within the framework of evolution. Okay, within the framework of evolution and trying to study the interaction between biology and culture. Okay, so how human has evolved biologically and how this culture has influenced evolution, because culture also has affected human evolution. See, for example, human jaw. Okay, human jaw. If you compare with that of primates, so primates have massive jaws. Okay, but humans have small jaw. One of the factor is because of the change in the diet, because humans were able to prepare the food outside the mouth before they can consume it. See, for example, we have fire, we cook the food becomes soft. So therefore we don't need this massive jaw. So over a period of time, human jaw has reduced in size. Why is this? It is not only because of biology but also because of culture. Because of culture. What is a culture? Cooking food. Cooking food is a culture. So when man invented fire, so after that if you see, or when man invented tools, after that you see that this physical shape of the face etc. also underwent change. Anyway, so what we are trying to say is that we want to study human biology to understand human evolution. How the modern man has come into existence or how it has evolved. That is what we want to understand in physical anthropology. So one of the first aspect what we tried to study or how it began was paleoanthropology. Paleo means old. So studying the fossil remains of the past. We try to study the fossil remains of the past. So we have thousands of fossils that were recovered. Okay. So in 1800 when we found the first fossil of Neanderthal, okay, so we suddenly got to know that okay, they were different from the modern man. So that means there was somebody before modern man, and then they started studying the fossils. They started finding new fossils and they started to study them and started to arrange them sequentially in chronological order and try to come up with a sequence of event that okay, this was first, then came this, then came this. Okay, and how man has evolved. For example, man's cranial capacity, the brain was small, the cranial capacity was less. Okay, so it was somewhere around 350 cc. Today it is 1350 to 1400 cc. So gradually it has evolved. So we are able to put a sequence of event based on fossil remains. Okay, so that branch of anthropology which studies the fossil remains, trying to put a sequence of trying to bring a sequence of event, okay, and understand why and how it occurred. I hope you understood what is paleoanthropology. That is what we will be starting our class also with. Okay, after understanding what is evolution, we will start with paleoanthropology. What is paleoanthropology? Study of fossil remains of humans. Okay, so that we can arrange them in sequence and understand why and how it underwent change. To understand that how modern man came into existence. Is that understood? Okay. Second is our closest ancestor is primates. Man also is a primate. Okay, so by studying the living primates, today's primates, we will be able to understand our past. Yes or no? By studying today's primates, we will be able to understand our past. So therefore, primatology is also a part of physical anthropology. So you study the primates, you study their behavior, you study their physical characters, you study the fossil remains of the primates, that is paleoprimatology. So you study the past fossils of the primates to understand the sequence of event and how physical and behavioral changes has occurred, okay, again giving rise to modern man. So by studying them, we are able to understand our present. So we compare our anatomical feature with that of primates to understand why it is different. So we are the only species who are habitually bipedal. Bipedal means walking on two legs. So we are habitually bipedal. No other primates are habitually bipedal. So by comparing our anatomy and that of the primate, we are able to understand that how the change has occurred. Because of us standing on two legs, what all changes has occurred by comparing with that of the apes. Okay, so that is why we need to also study the monkeys, apes and others to understand our past. So primatology is also another topic that we will be studying in our class. Next is the skeletal biology and osteology. That means we study the observable physical characters of human. The bone structure, the anatomical structure, the soft tissue of humans, okay, to understand the human variations. To understand human variation. Remember when we did race, yes, the Indian race, what did we study there? We studied the observable variations. Yes, correct, no, Negrito, Mongoloid, etc. What did we do then? We studied the observable physical variation. Why are we studying these variations? To understand how evolution is taking place. I hope you are able to understand. Variation is studied so that to understand how evolution is taking place. So over here we will be studying the biological and osteology. Osteology is study of bone. Okay, the skeletal biology and osteology, the observable physical feature. But the problem when scientists started studying this is it gave rise to racism. Okay, it gave rise to race, the concept of race, and then later on racism, that this is superior, this is inferior. So that's the negative aspect of studying the skeletal biology and osteology. Today we don't focus on that aspect of study. We focus mainly on measurement of body. Why is this measurement studied? Because it is applied in various areas, like they are used for designing office equipments like chairs, tables, etc. They are used for designing clothes, okay, your aircraft designs, etc. They are used. You won't believe they are also used for your designing aircraft seats. How much leg space is required, how much they can squeeze in so that they can make it economical. All that is used, to better implement all of that. You know, today we study osteology, etc., not to study race. Okay, so we try to study the skeletal aspect to understand the human variation, again to understand evolution. The next aspect is to study human biology and genetics. So genetics is the ingredient because of which there is variation. See, today I look different, you look different. Okay, that is physical variation. But what is the reason behind this physical variation? Our genetics are different. My genes are a little bit different than, my genetic combination is different than yours. So genetic variations are there. So in human biology and genetics, you study the variation, okay, in genetics. Okay, so here also you are trying to study variation to understand how difference in genes is leading to variation and how this variation is inherited from one generation to another. Okay, this is how evolution is taking place because the variation in gene. So this leads to variations. This variation is leading to evolution. Okay. So earlier we used to study only the physical aspect, observable aspect. With advancement of science, okay, we are now mainly focusing on genetic studies. So that is why we use the word now biological anthropology and not physical, because today it's not only about physical appearance, today it is more than physical. You try to study the biological composition of man. Okay, so this is human biology and genetics. You try to study the variation, how it is occurring, how it is inherited from one generation to another. Then you study the nutritional anthropology, that is variation in nutrition and how again it is affecting to difference in population, human population. So both cultural aspects as well as physical variation because of nutrition. So here you will be studying about growth and development, various factors that affect growth and development, concepts like fertility and fecundity, etc. you will be studying how it is affecting human population. Then another branch of physical anthropology is called as forensic anthropology. That means applying the knowledge that you have gained here, okay, for jurisprudence, criminal jurisprudence, etc. Using it for legal purpose is known as forensic anthropology. For example, detecting criminals, for identifying the criminals. Okay, so everybody is different. So by using fingerprint, we are able to identify a person from another person. So that also comes under the scope of physical anthropology. That is known as forensic anthropology. These are some of the major branches of physical anthropology. That is paleoanthropology, studying human evolution by studying the fossil remains. Primatology, studying primates as a whole, both living primates as well as the ancient primates and their fossils. Then studying the skeletal, observable physical features, their skeletal as well as soft tissue, the muscles, etc. Then human biology, genetics, that is the inherent combination of genes leading to variation. Nutritional anthropology and forensic anthropology. So these are some of the major sub-branch of this particular topic, physical anthropology. I hope you understand. Basically, we are trying to, as anthropologists, your main focus is to understand human evolution. So human evolution is taking place. If you know genetic, Darwin's theory, basic, what you would have done in school. Okay. So what does Darwin talk about? Mainly his principle is selection of the fittest. Yes. You select, the nature will select the fittest. Yes? Yes, like Fit India, that's why we should be fit. Yes, so they will select the fittest. It's like UPSC, nature is like the UPSC examination. Yes, so you have variation, not everybody is having the same intelligence. So UPSC is like the, what? Nature. So it is going to select how many? 1,000 people. Correct? So variation, yes, is being selected by whom? By nature. Yes, and this is leading to evolution. So those who get selected will evolve to become higher level of citizens. Correct? No? So that is how evolution takes place. Same way, in human also there is variation. So there are different variation, A, B, C, D, etc. Now A is selected by the nature. So A will evolve, B, C, D will perish. We'll go back to the corporate jobs. Correct? No. So that is how nature will work. Correct? This is what we want to understand. Anthropologists, this is what they want to understand. So that is why you study paleo anthropology. That is studying the past. You study the genetics to understand human variation. I hope you understood, right? So why you are studying variation? To understand how evolution is taking place. To understand variation, you either study the physical variation or you study the genetic variation. Am I making sense? You have to understand variation, so you have to study the physical and genetic. Now, then basics about evolution, theories to explain evolution, etc. That is what. So here you will study paleoanthropology. That means how humans have evolved. So from primates, how we have been, from apes, how we have evolved to become modern man. What were the different stages? What were the various factors that influenced these stages? Okay, that is what we will study. We will have to also study primatology. So we will be studying about apes, the difference between ape and man, we will be studying the apes, skeletal feature, locomotion and their behavior. Okay. Then we will be studying about genetics. In genetics, we will be studying about genetic principles. Okay, the various methods to study genetics. Okay, there are different branches in genetics, so those things we will be studying. You might have heard about Mendel. Yes, Mendel's law. So Mendel's law we will be studying, and what are the various factors that affect that, etc. Okay, then we will be studying population genetics, etc. So this is what we will have to study that because of to understand variation. Similarly, we will also be studying how humans are adapting to the environment. So as I told you, in equator you have different kind of race. In polar region you have different kind of race because they have adapted to that particular environment. Now if you go to Himalayan region, the people who have already born and brought up in Himalayan region, they will be better adapted than you. Correct? As soon as you go to Himalaya, you will start breathing heavily, you will not be able to adjust, but they will be around there chilling and updating their Facebook profile and all. But you will be shivering. Why? Because they are better adapted than you. Okay, so that is also studied under this because there is variation. Okay, they are able to better adapt it to that kind of environment. Now foreigners, when they come to India, they will be sweating. Oh, how hot, how hot. They eat one pani puri, gone 5 days they will be in the hospital. Why? Because they don't have the same kind of adaptability that we have. Okay, so adaptation to that particular environment. So in ecological anthropology, we will study that. Similarly, in nutritional anthropology, we will study growth and development. It is different in different part of the world. Similarly, epidemiological anthropology, where you study the diseases, how humans adapt to different disease. Say for example, malaria. So people in India, Africa, etc., malaria is an endemic disease. So we are having certain genes which is able to adapt to malaria better than the foreigners. Okay, so these kind of things that we have to study. And the applied part of physical anthropology. Physical anthropology today is used in designing equipments, even mobile phones. So how big is your hand? How big should the mobile phone be? How easy it is to use it, etc. So anthropologists are used to design helmets, okay, which is used in fighter aircrafts. So that is also anthropologists are used because of the knowledge of physical variation. Anthropologists are used to design cockpits of aircrafts. Okay, they are used to design simple things like knobs of door so that it will be more easy and convenient. Okay, your chairs, yes, and even in sports, it's called as kinanthropometry or kinanthropology. So it is anthropology used in sports. In Australia and all, anthropologists are hired in order to improve sports. They will be able to select people for particular sport. Oh, you are tall, you are good for long marathon running. Okay, you are short, you are good for weightlifting. You have a big chest, you are good for swimming. Okay, so they will be able to identify the right kind of human variation for that particular sport. So like that you have various application of physical anthropology. That is applied anthropology we will be studying. Now if you have a copy of syllabus, that's what all we will be doing. I hope you understood. So I just want to remove that idea from your mind that it is difficult or it's only about genetics or it's only about biology. It's not about biology, it's not about genetics. It's mainly about evolution and human variation. We have to study. No, it's okay. So I have it here. Just saying go home and read it again. So it is all about studying human evolution and human variation. Now let's try to understand the syllabus, what it is there. So your 1.4 is about human evolution and emergence of man. How modern man has evolved. So here we will be studying the various theories of evolution. You would have heard about Darwin's theory, that one. So Darwin, before Darwin, Lamarck's theory was there. After Darwin, there were a few more theories. So we'll try to understand what these guys were trying to talk about. Evolution. Okay, what is evolution? What are the various theories of evolution? Then some concepts relating to evolution. This is the basics of evolution. Then we study primatology, study of primates. So So the characteristics of primates, their physical and their behavioral characters, and how they are different from modern man. So that is primatology, 1.5. 1.6 is human evolution, the different stages of human evolution. So we start from one of the first stage, that is Australopithecus, then Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Neanderthal, and Homo sapiens sapiens. Within them there are intermediary, but this is the major line of evolution. So what is their status, their characteristic, anatomical features, etc., and their cultural features, along with their geographical distribution, where they were found and how they were distributed, where all the fossils were found, etc. Is that understood? Yes? So primatology and human physical evolution. Okay, so here this 10 to 20 marks can be asked. Is that okay? Understood? This is the first part. That is the physical evolution part. Then you have 9.1 of paper 1 to 9.8, that is 9. You study the genetics. So you study the methods of genetic study. What are the various methods used to study genetics? So there is something called as family tree. There is something called as your chromosome analysis. There is something called as recombinant DNA technology. These are all various methods that are used to study genetics. 9.2 and 9.3. So genetics as a discipline has two branches. One is called as Mendel's genetics and the other one is called as population genetics. Mendelian genetics and population genetics. So what is this Mendelian genetics? Mendelian genetics is trying to understand the gene at an individual level and how it is inherited from one generation to another. Okay, so how I have inherited gene from my parents and how I will be transmitting it to the next generation. Okay, how this gene is reflected in my physical appearance, etc. We will be studying under Mendel's genetics. You understood? So at the individual level. When you study gene at a population level, at a group level, matlab India or let's say in South India, certain genes are at higher frequency compared to that of Europe. I'll repeat again. Certain genes are of higher frequency in India compared to that of Europe. On the other hand, in Europe there will be some genes which is in higher frequency than compared to India. So in some populations, certain genes will be more, certain gene will frequency will be less. Why is this? Because environment is different. So studying the variation at the population level is called as population genetics. You understood? Okay, see, Mendel studied how genes are inherited from one generation to another, whereas population genetics they study at the population level, genetic frequency at the population level. Okay, say let's say population A and population B. The B blood group in A and B blood group in B. Okay, so here it may be 80%, here it may be 60%. Studying this is known as population genetics. Why is it different? How is it inherited, etc. is studied in population genetics. Next comes various abnormalities in the chromosomes. Anyways, it's part of this. Okay. Then variation is giving rise to race. Okay. So what is race? So in Indian anthropology we studied the race in India. Here we will try to understand the actual principle behind race. Okay. What are the various principles behind different race? That means their skin color, their height or their facial structure, their nose, etc. on the basis of which race is determined. So we try to understand the basic principles. Then we also have something called as genetic markers. So these markers are used to measure human variation, like blood pressure. Okay, if you talk about children and old age and in between, blood pressure varies. Why it varies, etc. we will study over here. Okay. Next, ecological anthropology is what? As I told you, it is a study of interaction of human with its environment. How environment is shaping human population, human variation. Then you have epidemiological anthropology, where you try to study the diseases, okay, and how human is having different ability to resist these diseases. Okay, that is about 9.1 to 9.8. Everything about genetics. In addition to that, 10 we study human growth and development. What are the various factors that affects human growth and development? Okay, so here we'll also be studying about nutrition and how it affects human growth and human development. Then 11.1 to 11.3 is about demography. So human population, how it is undergoing change. Okay, how population of each country will undergo change. You might have heard in general studies demographic transition theory. Okay, from high birth rate to high death rate to low birth rate and low death rate. Country will undergo transition. Okay, so that is demography. So why is this? What are the various factors that affect growth and change of population of every country? Demography. Okay, here we will be also studying about fertility rate, what are the various factors that affects fertility, etc. And last topic, that is 12, that is applied physical anthropology. Okay, so where you will be applying the knowledge that you have gained in physical anthropology for development of mankind. So you will study nutritional anthropology, how it can be applied, forensic medicine, how it can be used, sports, designing equipments, etc. So these are the application of physical anthropology. So various application, each of them we will be studying in depth. Is that okay? So this is what you have to study in both physical or biological